Nicole coming?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Good afternoon. You ready?
I'm ready.
Thanks, Kate. All right, we're here this afternoon to report a jury verdict on the case of the People versus Adam Bennefield, a horrific crime, murder that happened a little more than 3 years ago. A jury returned a verdict this afternoon, one count of murder in the second degree, and the three additional counts that were included in the indictment. But this is a case that, a horrific, callous murder that happened over 3 years ago. Really sort of the worst nightmare for any woman struggling with domestic violence. And, it's a good day to at least be able to report that the jury in this case, in a trial before Judge Bowler, did the right thing, and they found Mr. Bennefield guilty of all counts in the indictment. I'm here with the two lawyers and one of the two victim advocates that worked on this case for our office for the last 3 years. Justin Caldwell, immediately to my left, was the lead trial lawyer, along with Colleen Curtin Gable, immediately to my right, and Kim Rapp, who is one of the victim witness advocates from our office, who worked with the victims and the family throughout the course of the trial and for the last 3 years on this case. So this case involved, an incident that occurred on October 5th, but actually started days before that. October 5th, 2022, Mr. Bennefield was lying in wait for more than 3 hours, we think, really about a block from where this horrific crime occurred in the city of Buffalo. It actually, he was lying in wait, recording in his vehicle, which was a pickup truck. He was about a block from the scene where he crashed into the vehicle of Kiara Hudson Bennefield. She was a 30-year-old young woman with 3 kids. She was in her vehicle driving her daughter, her 9-year-old daughter at the time, to school, and she had the other 2 children in the back of the vehicle, a 4-year-old little girl and a baby boy. They were on their way to school. It was about 8:30 in the morning. Mr. Bennefield smashed his truck into her vehicle, causing a horrific accident. He then got out of his vehicle and proceeded to smash a shotgun that he had in his hands against the window of her vehicle until Kiara got out of the vehicle. As soon as she got out of the vehicle, he shot her in the left shoulder with the shotgun, and then he shot her in the head and killed her. It's a horrific crime. He murdered this young woman in front of her 3 kids, and then he fled the scene like a coward. Luckily, a police officer was right near the scene and witnessed at least the aftermath of it. He thought he had actually seen a hit and run, and then he followed Mr. Bennefield. He proceeded on a chase across the city of Buffalo a little bit for about 10 minutes until the Bennefield got out of his vehicle and left. The vehicle was abandoned underneath an overpass on Humboldt in the city of Buffalo. Other police officers had gotten involved in the chase, and there was some very significant evidence recovered from the pickup truck. Bennefield had gotten out of the vehicle and fled, and he wasn't caught at the scene or caught that day. But there was some significant evidence in the vehicle, including paperwork with Bennefield's name on it. The truck was registered to Bennefield's mother, and there was a cell phone in the vehicle. And once we got search warrants for the vehicle and then eventually a search warrant for the cell phone, we were able to uncover some significant evidence which led to the arrest of Bennefield. He was arrested and incarcerated about a week later and charged with the murder. After the horrific murder of Kiara, the 9-year-old daughter got out of the vehicle and got her siblings out of the vehicle. And then luckily there was a woman who lives in the neighborhood who was a witness and came out of the house and helped this little girl with her 2 daughters, or her 2 siblings. She immediately, the little girl, the 9-year-old, immediately described that Bennefield was the murderer, that her daddy was the murderer, and used his name. And the witness that had come out of the house to help these little girls called 911. The police responded to the scene. The 9-year-old again said to the police officer, Bennefield was the murderer, so immediately the police, took action. Not only the police officers that chased Bennefield across the city, but the police that responded to the scene and helped these young kids. Once the evidence was obtained from the truck and the phone, and the evidence was obtained from the phone, there were actually videos on the phone of Bennefield describing what was a motive, a false motive, but he described essentially all his problems that he had with Kiara. A bunch of lies, but at least it explained to our office and to the police, his motive manufactured in his head as to why he committed this horrific crime. So that evidence was obtained from the phone. All of the evidence, the witnesses, the police officers, that was all used in this trial over the last few days. It was actually a 5-day trial if you count jury selection. We completed it early this morning, and then the jury, within about an hour, returned a verdict. Again, the verdict was of the entire indictment. He was convicted of the murder in the second degree, 3 counts of 3 counts of endangering the welfare of a child, and 1 count of aggravated criminal contempt, which is a violation of the order of protection. Kiara was doing exactly what she should have done in terms of the safety planning. She was concerned and in fear for her life. She had had charges filed against him in Cheektowaga Town Court. There was an order of protection issued. She was actually wearing a bulletproof vest on the day when she was driving her daughter to school, and the day this horrific crime happened. Unfortunately, that didn't save her life. But this is a conclusion today of a horrific case. Hopefully, today the verdict will give these little kids, especially this little girl that had to testify, the 9-year-old who's now 12 years old, give her the opportunity to now start healing and moving on with her life. We do have sentencing scheduled for December 20th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon before Judge Bowler. But this is a result, I think, not only by the hard work of the lawyers and the victim advocates from our office, but also by the police department that responded quickly, the police officers that responded quickly, not only to the scene, but also to the 911 call and helped in this chase, helped recover the evidence from the vehicle, and also the civilian witnesses involved in this case. They are always very important and they're critical. Without witnesses, we can't prosecute these cases. So, the trial is concluded. The sentencing will take place. He is going to face the maximum sentence of 25 years to life. We are going to be asking for the maximum. Of course, that is up to the judge. But we will be asking for the maximum sentence in this case. And like I said, hopefully this will allow the family, these 3 little kids, the opportunity to get some closure here and to move on with their lives. I think that concludes my remarks. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
Can you talk about how important it was for the victim's daughter to testify throughout the trial?
Well, she was the primary witness in this case. There was other circumstantial evidence, certainly, but she recognized Adam Bennefield. At the time of the car accident, before her mom was even murdered, she recognized him. She identified him to the witness, the woman who came out, the Good Samaritan who came out after the crash. She immediately identified him. She also identified him to the police officer. So I think it's really important for a jury to hear that testimony, and I'm sure it was extremely difficult for her. I know she was emotional, but I think it was probably the most important part of the evidence in this case.
Has the defense team indicated whether they will appeal?
I don't know the answer to that, but they almost always do.
Just to clarify, you said the 3 children were also his children, or is it just from?
No, the 2 older kids, the 9-year-old and the 4-year-old, were not his children. The infant, the one boy, the infant, was his. He is the biological father.
Deliberations today took about an hour. In your experience, I mean, that seems pretty quick, so I don't know if that speaks to the strength of the evidence that was brought forward, or just can you speak to deliberations?
Yeah, I think, sure. I think you're right. That is a relatively quick verdict, especially when you take into consideration that the jury was having lunch at the time. But I do think it goes to the strength of the verdict, the strength of the evidence. It also goes to the important work and the skill of our attorneys in this case. The great work done by the police department. The witnesses obviously were very compelling. But, you know, the evidence was strong in this case, and, you know, it was great work done by the jury. We had a good jury.
Well, we know Bennefield has a violent past with the kidnapping and then escaping from the Erie County jail. Can you talk a little bit about if this is another bail reform issue that we're seeing since he was able to, you know, get out and commit such a horrific crime?
So the prior crime that you referred to, that, you know, his violent criminal history, that was from years ago, long before bail reform. It was in the early 2000s. He served a 15-year sentence for that crime, which I think has already been reported on. You know, so that has nothing to do with bail reform. The charge for which he was arraigned the day before in Cheektowaga Court, you know, there's certainly been conversations and criticism of the bail reform statutes, not just, you know, as a general rule, but with respect to this case as well. We are aware of it. We do think, you know, I've said this before, it would be better, we would all be better served if the statute in this state, if the legislature would give the judges more discretion. I think that's the best way to say it. You know, like I said already, the victim in this case was doing the things that she should do with respect to safety planning. She wasn't even at her own home on the morning of this thing. You know, she had a bulletproof vest on. It didn't work. It didn't save her life, unfortunately. She had gone to court. She had an order of protection issued. You know, we tried our best to get him held the day before. We were unable to do that. But I think that that we certainly support you know, more discretion in the hands of the judges in these kinds of decisions.
Anything else?
Nothing else? Thank you.